Hello, everyone. Channel and back to the Pixar pod. Today we're going to be going over a few things, three topics that we're going to be discussing. The first being we're going to do a bit of a quiz. We're going to put films versus films in the Pixar world and see what we all think is better, explain why, and then we're going to give our thoughts on Toy Story 5 and where we think that will go in terms of future content, and we're also going to give our thoughts on potential prequel and sequel films that we think could work, why we should see them, or even TV show like mini ones like they did for Dog Days, where we can fit this into the world of Pixar. If you're new here, subscribe like as always. Let me know some ideas down below that you'd like to see, and of course, enjoy. So, first thing we are going to do is we're going to do a this or that quiz just to start off, just so you know what sort of films I like. And this is on BuzzFeed. So we're going to do this, touch on Toy Story 5, and then, as I said, talk about sequels that I think should be made, or even give my thoughts on the potential on the upcoming sequels of Monsters Inc. 2 or 3, University 2, Incredibles 3, and Coco 2. So, first off, let's do a this or that quiz on BuzzFeed. You can find this for yourself if you want to do it, see what your favourite Pixar films are, and of course, check out the previous couple of episodes we have done before. So, would you rather save Brave or Soul? I haven't seen Brave, and I'm not a big fan of Soul, but we're going to say Soul, and most people put Brave, which I think if I'd seen Brave, I probably would have put Brave. Would you rather say Ratatouille or A Bug's Life? This is such a difficult one, but they're both animal themed. It depends if you're a fan of bugs or cooking. And they both have, I think Ratatouille has a bigger meaning behind it, and it's more emotional to watch. A Bug's Life is just a really fun film. So it depends if you want a fun film with a really incredible villain, or Ratatouille, which is such a down to earth, a guy who just wants to be a chef, who forms a friendship with a rat, and then obviously has to impress this food critic. So it depends what you want. I think Ratatouille is a better film, and so does most people. Would you rather say Onward, Finding Dory? I think this is so easy. I think Finding Dory is one of the worst sequels ever. Valid, I haven't seen it in a while, but I just don't think it had the same feeling that Finding Nemo had. And I relate to Onward because I have siblings, so maybe it's biased on that front, but I just think Onward is such a wholesome film. I love the fantasy element, I love the world they create, and I think it's one of Pixar's best that's come out in recent time. But I saw that coming. I don't think many people have watched Onward. I don't think many people will give it the credit it deserves. See, this was a tough one. Yeah, well, it's not tough. I think they're both really good, but for different reasons. Luca, I think, again, with Onward, is one of the best modern Pixar films. But Toy Story 3 is one of the great animated films of all time. So it's, in my mind, it's close in the sense of I could watch both. But I think Toy Story 3 has one of the greatest villains ever. When Lotso turns evil out of nowhere. It's crazy, and I think the ensemble of cast, the new additions, it's terrific. So it's Toy Story 2. I think this might be a landslide. Wow, that's even, that actually surprises me. I didn't think many people actually enjoyed Luca. Um, would you rather save Cars 3 or The Incredibles? I'm a big Cars fan, and I think Cars 3 is almost as good as Cars 1 for different reasons. I think Incredibles 1's good, but I've not seen it in years, and I think if I was going to sit down and watch one or the other, I think it'd be Cars 3. But I know what's, yeah, this one was obviously going to be a landslide, but in my opinion, I have more, of a better time watching Cars 3. But Incredibles is still phenomenal. Would you rather say Monsters Inc. or Inside Out? I think this is actually one of the hardest. This is really hard. As I watched Monsters Inc. recently, and I think it's actually one of the most perfect Pixar films. Inside Out is on that on that pedestal as well. So it depends what you really want. But I think if I had to sit down and watch a film, ooh, I think this one of all the ones we've done already. I think this would be close. Let me go Inside Out. Oh wow. I'd take either or. I think they're both fantastic. Would you rather see The Good Dinosaur or Cars 2? I think Cars 2 is terrible. Bringing a spy story into it is just silly. The Good Dinosaur, I think, is one of the most underrated, underappreciated animation films in years, let alone underrated Disney film. I think Good Dinosaur is so fun, it's so cute. The relationship between Arlo and Spot is brilliant, and I'm easily gonna go Good Dinosaur, but everyone's gonna pick Cars. Two. Oh my God, it's 50-50. It's 50-50, yet it's 20.4 and 20.1. So, but yeah, Good Dinosaur, fantastic. Oh, would you rather say Finding Nemo or Wally? I think again, two of the best Pixar films. Finding Nemo is just pure brilliance. It's funny, it's emotional. Wally is Wally's remarkable because there isn't a lot of talking. There isn't a lot of you're watching Wally and Eve become something close and bringing humans back to Earth in such a way that there isn't much conversations going on that it's almost like a silent film. So that's what you're looking for. If you're looking for something like Finding Nemo, which is more comedy and emotional driven, whereas Wally is hard to explain what Wally is, but I think Finding Nemo. Very difficult choice. Would you rather say Toy Story 4 or Cars? The option is simple. It is Cars. Cars is probably top five Pixar films. Toy Story 4, I think it's hated on way too much, but it's definitely the weakest Toy Story film out there. So I'm gonna go Cars. Would you rather say Up or Incredibles 2? When you think about this, I think Incredibles 2, I just don't really think about that much. Up is one of the best Pixar films there is. Um, so I think the choice is obvious, but I think a lot of people will like Incredibles 2. But yeah, I think Up is the obvious choice. Now, I think this is a difficult choice. Would you rather say Toy Story or Monsters University? I think Toy Story is one of the greatest animation films of all time. It was so ahead of the times when it came out. But I did watch Monster University recently, and I do think it's fantastic. I think it's so much better than I used to think of it. I used to really enjoy it, then there was a time where I never wanted to watch it, and then watched it again recently, and I think it's on par with Monsters Inc. It's on par with Finding Nemo and Wall-E and all those types of films. But I still think because Toy Story was of ahead of its time, I think it has to be Toy Story. And finally, would you rather say Toy Story 2 or Coco? Toy Story 2 because I think Coco has brilliant music. I think Miguel's a great character. I think it's really emotional at the end where Coco finally comes around and smiles for the first time. And the relationship between Coco and Miguel is beautiful. But I think Toy Story 2 is brilliant. It's so funny. It's so remarkable. And it's a brilliant sequel. But yeah, Coco is the one that people have gone for, which is crazy. But yeah, that's our thoughts on the BuzzFeed. We got with Toy Story 2, Toy Story, Oz, Finding Nemo, Good Dinosaur, Inside Out, Cars 3, Toy Story 3, Onward, Ratatouille, and Soul. So yeah, what were your thoughts on that? Do let me know down below. Um, and yeah, you guys can tell me what your favorite films are. But yeah, I just want to touch upon Toy Story 5. Toy Story 5 comes out in a couple of months. I just want to give my general thoughts on what to expect. Because when you've got a film series that, has it's one of the most perfect trilogies, Toy Story 1, Toy Story 2, and Toy Story 3, And then you make something like Toy Story 4 where you add characters like Bo Peep back into the mix. Woody and Buzz go their separate ways, and then they reunite in this for a reason. You've got to say, does it make sense? Will it be good? Um, Apparently Jesse's taken the lead after this film, which I think is can't be the best decision because you've got to think about logically. Buzz and Woody are the reason why people watch these films. Jesse's fantastic, but are Buzz and Woody going to say goodbye again? Um, and it's going to be one of those films. I think technology's there to take over, but I think in the end, Bonnie will realize she can use technology and toys. Um, which I think is an idea which would be really interesting. It'll be a battle to prove themselves in the entire film. Um, Whether there'll be more films after this, I don't know. We said this after Toy Story 3 and 4, there shouldn't be more films. Um, but there is rumours that an animation show, Jesse taking the lead in future films. Um, it's just, I think if you go with the plot of technology comes into the film, Bonnie sidelines the toys for most of the film, but then I think she realizes she can use both. She can have both in her lives, and I think there'll be this agreement between technology and the toys of being like, oh well, we can be on the same page. We don't have to be outcasted, because in this modern world, technology is taking over massively, but toys are still heavily played by kids. And I think it'd be such a cool ending for them to come together for a realization of it's not just toys that have to be depended on. You add technology into it, you can use both technology for a limited amount of time, but then when you're not using technology, you play with the toys. So I'm intrigued to see how they play it out. I'm intrigued to see what Toy Story 6 could look like. Um, but and obviously we have new voice actors for Slinky, Mr. Potato, and Miss Potato Head. So I'm intrigued to see how that pans out. But yeah, you guys let me know down below in the comments your thoughts. Where do you think Toy Story 5 is going? What do you think the ending looks like? Do we ever see Andy coming into the fold? It's very intriguing. It's hard to say, but I think that's how I think the film will end, with an agreement between technology and toys, um, in a positive manner, and Bonnie having the best of both worlds. Um, Sequels that I think that should be a thing, or prequels, or TV shows that could be created within the world. I think we would definitely benefit from a Cars 4. Um, I think, if they're making a new Monsters film, my thoughts is it needs to be focused on Boo. You make an Incredibles 3, a trilogy is inevitable. I don't know what the focus would be, because I'm not a big Incredibles fan. And then you got Coco 2, I think it shouldn't really be happening. Coco 1 was a perfect conclusion, and um, understanding of the characters involved. Uh, but if you're going to create any films, I think sequels should be Ratatouille. There's plenty more in the sandbox to do with Ratatouille and the chef, and expanding the story. Cars 4 is simply, it's just, it involves Lightning McQueen in like a doc role. Um, I think that's so cool, and maybe Lightning McQueen can pass away the story, um, and pass it on to the next generation, just like they did at the end of number 3. But Lightning McQueen's not involved in any racing; he becomes a manager or coach. I think that'd be really cool. You've also got, I don't think A Bug's Life. I think Up. I think Up's that's just like Up, Onward, Luca. All these films shouldn't have sequels, but I think the one that could, you could look into A Bug's Life, but I think it's been years since that came out. I think Toy Story 6 is inevitable. Um, I don't think anything in the Finding series can be done. Um, Turning Red, no. Elemental, no. I mean, you could do more Elemental. And I think the main one that should be focused on is Inside Out 3. I think a perfect trilogy will be what they go for, but it depends on the story, depends on the direction, and how they do it. But you keep aging up, Riley, and gaining new emotions. It's so easy, and the story just plays itself out. Like Anxiety was the villain, but main character of number two, and then you create something that adapts her at an older age, which we all can relate to on screen. So yeah, there are a couple of my sequel ideas. So let me know down below in the comments your thoughts on the sequel ideas, my Toy Story 5 ending and how I think it will end. And if you want to do the BuzzFeed quiz, go to BuzzFeed. It's the Pixar this or that quiz. Hope you enjoyed the Pixar pod. More ideas and more concepts coming soon. Hit the subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.